We looked at this very carefully and, of course, spoke to the families and the survivors of the atrocity, and I have huge sympathy for them and the terrible loss that they've suffered. The reason why I didn't feel a public inquiry was appropriate is because this atrocity has been very extensively investigated, and the police inquiries have also been subject to very extensive investigations and scrutiny. Around 10 previous inquiries have taken place. I didn't feel that a new process would provide the families with answers that aren't already out there in the public domain.
That is your view, and you articulated it to the families. Michael Gallagher, one of the people you met, this is what he had to say.
She said that the police ombudsman is currently carrying out an investigation into Omagh. This is one of, I think, something like over 20 investigations that have been carried out on both sides of the border, and the problem is the police ombudsman, like the other investigations in past times, have not had the power to compel witnesses. So, we're not going to get the truth from this investigation. That's why a full public judicial inquiry with the power to compel witnesses to come forward. The reality is, and this is a difficult reality to face, that Aidan need not have died.
And that's the fix that Michael Gallagher finds himself in, that he doesn't believe that all of the investigations which have happened before had full compellability to get to the heart of the matter, maybe to the heart of the intelligence services north and south of the border, who may have had information that could have saved Aidan's life.
Well, the work of the intelligence agencies was looked at in great detail in the Gibson report, and it was concluded in that report that information was shared in full and promptly with the RUC. Returning to the sort of general issue of a public inquiry, I just don't believe that a public inquiry would necessarily guarantee the families any of the answers that they feel that they want. After all, if one looks back at the experience of public inquiries, for example, the Billy Wright one, failed to come to a conclusion on one of the basic facts at the heart of what they were asked to look at, namely how a gun was smuggled into one of Europe's highest security prisons.
The kind of things that the families are concerned about, one of the emails from a man called Dave Rupert, an American who was engaged as an informant for the Gardaí and MI5, he talked about plans for a bombing. MI5 and the Gardaí would have seen this, and the possible targets suggested were Derry and Omagh and a third location, a very specific email. And you wonder then, why were the police, given that Omagh was named as a possible location, why were they not alert for a potential bombing that day? That's the kind of question that the families want answered.
Well, that was the kind of question that was asked of Peter Gibson, who carried out the Gibson report, and his conclusion was very clear that there was nothing that could have been done to stop the bombing from taking place. There was no evidence that there was intelligence that would have enabled the police to have stopped the bombing.
So that's the end of the matter as far as you're concerned?
Well, I certainly believe that a public inquiry wouldn't be appropriate in this case. The families have indicated that they want to take the matter to the courts, and obviously
will
we'll respond to that.
There will be a judicial review.
Yes.
Are there technical difficulties, by the way, about having a judicial cross-border inquiry? In whose jurisdiction would it be? The bombing happened in Omagh, presumably it would be in Northern Ireland. What role would the South have to play, and how would a cross-border inquiry work?
Well, certainly there would be, I think, very great practical difficulties with the cross-border process. That's something I discussed with the Justice Minister here, Alan Shatter. It's not at all clear how that process could be delivered. It probably would need primary legislation in Westminster and possibly the same in Dublin. So there would be some very
it is without precedent. There's no, even though we've had lots of cross-border negotiation, such a judicial inquiry, whose law would be paramount?
It would be completely without that precedent, and it would give rise to very, very significant practical and legal difficulties. I don't know how it could be done. I really can't see that it would be feasible.